Hello, and welcome to the Biomass Magazine podcast. I am your host, Anna Simet. Today, our guest is Chris Headrick, founder and executive chairman and CTO of H2 Energy Group. Chris, welcome to the podcast.
Good morning, Anna. Thank you very much for having us.
Absolutely. So, Chris, to begin, why don't you tell us a little bit about H2 Energy Group, some of the background, and maybe a little about your technology and what you guys are all about?
Absolutely. Just real quick, we're based in Austin, Texas. We utilize biomass through a high-yield fast pyrolysis process to make green hydrogen. And our secret is we do it very affordably. Our production costs are under $2 a kilogram. And we have great plans for deploying our technology all over the world, but we're starting out in Northern California.
So, Chris, for our listeners who aren't really all that familiar with green hydrogen, can you talk about it generally? Tell us a little bit more about its production, use, and potential.
Absolutely. In the United States today, there's about 10 million kilograms, 10 million tons of hydrogen used annually. That hydrogen is generally made by stripping natural gas for the hydrogen and is very, very dirty. We came up with a proprietary technology that we've aggregated, actually 5 different technologies, including our biomass, that we use to produce the hydrogen using, as I said, high-yield fast pyrolysis technology. The hydrogen will be produced in Red Bluff, California, and distributed to 5 hubs up and down Interstate I-5, which covers the entirety of the West Coast. The hydrogen will initially, from our perspective, be used in heavy transport, initially trucks, but trains, boats, and planes, believe it or not, are all part of the coming mix. And we think with the Inflation Reduction Act that Congress and President Biden just recently passed, the market is just going to explode. And the hook for us is driving as much cost out of the production cost as possible, and offering a cost-effective solution for a replacement to diesel.
So, Chris, let's talk more about this project that you're proposing in Northern California. Why did you pick this particular location? Can you tell us a little bit more about it?
Absolutely. California, for a lot of people who aren't familiar with the hydrogen process, the state of California has led the way, not just in hydrogen, but in renewables in general, and not just for the United States, but for the world. All of the world uses the carbon metrics that California initially set up to determine what the carbon intensity analysis of a particular project might be. That leadership led us to look at the market as probably the first place where there would be an opportunity to truly deploy a sizable facility. Our facilities do 10,000 kilograms a day and are infinitely scalable upwards. In that process, we'll use about 5,500 acres of our proprietary biomass in conjunction with woody biomass from CAL FIRE and the utilities out there in the market who are trying to prevent wildfires through forest management.
So, Chris, you've said your company is a strong proponent of a circular green hydrogen economy that includes the creation of biochar. Can you talk a little bit more about biochar?
Yeah, as part of our business model, we produce really 4 different products. The technology was originally designed to produce electricity with a hydrogen-rich syngas and a natural gas genset. That's not really terribly green. So we went a step further and thought that it makes sense to produce the hydrogen, clean it up, and through a water gas shift and a pressure swing adsorption process, we ended up with 5 nines purity. 2 of our co-products are biochar and a product called charcoal water or pyrolignis acid. It's essentially liquid smoke. Both of those products have been used for, literally thousands of years for soil amendment, for crop enhancements, things like that in the agricultural applications. Mm-hmm. We see a little bit bigger market in the hard to decarbonize sectors such as steel production, where we can actually take our biochar and use it as a substitute for coal. That helps us reduce the dependency on just massive amounts of green hydrogen through the process of converting essentially iron to pig iron. They use an enormous amount of carbon to facilitate that process. We think that our product is kind of the natural solution.
Mm-hmm. Interesting. So what's for the biochar market, what's demand like right now?
Here in the U.S., it's nascent. It's a growing market. There's all kinds of agricultural studies. Some of the things seem almost far-fetched, but if you really dig into it, it just kind of makes sense. The one that comes to mind and that we've talked about more in the last couple of months than anything else is feeding the biochar, a blended percentage of biochar with cattle feed. Reduces the amount of methanogen that cows produce, specifically beef cows, and adds about 25% body weight to the cattle itself.
Wow.
The numbers for that are just hard to comprehend when you look at a major beef production facility. And, it's helping reduce the amount of methane that the cows produce. That's directly impactful in carbon reduction, and we believe will have immediate noticeable effects. And it's not us saying that. There's several universities. You can just do a quick online search for biochar and cattle feed, and there's probably 100 results that pop up immediately on Google.
That's so interesting. So I just have a couple more questions for you. You responded to a Department of Energy loan solicitation. Could you give us an update on that and why your project's a good fit?
Yeah, absolutely. The DOE has always taken the lead on helping finance brand new technologies, and ours is certainly no exception. What we're doing is absolutely unique in the space. There are no other completely circular, sustainable, and renewable projects that we're aware of anywhere in the world that do it the way we do it. Here in the United States, we're pleased to have a government that will assist in bringing these oftentimes very difficult projects, new technology projects to market to help them get finance in place. But that's absolutely exactly what DOE, not just DOE, the U.S. Department of Agriculture, even the state of California has been really helpful in putting packages together that support this process. So there's all kinds of additional supports. Carbon offsets is one that is enormous. We think that's just a market that, once again, it's brand new. People aren't really sure exactly where it's going, but we see it as a massive opportunity. The DOE, USDA, and the state of California have all been just way out front of everybody else in the world on giving access to project finance. We're asking the government for essentially $321 million to first three facilities. The facilities, one is in Red Bluff, California, one's here in Knoxville, Tennessee, and one's just south of Cleveland. And the locations are based on traffic, heavy truck traffic. And if you look at those three locations, you'll see California gives us the entirety of I-5 from San Diego to Vancouver. The location here in Tennessee is at the confluence of I-40 and I-75, which is one of the most heavily trafficked intersections in the United States for heavy transport, which when I say heavy transport, I'm talking about semis, big trucks. And then, of course, Cleveland, Ohio, you're almost halfway between Chicago and New York. So you open up all of the territory in the Northeast for these heavy trucks, these hydrogen-powered heavy trucks. And that list of companies that are in that space right now is literally a who's who in heavy transport. You've got Toyota, Hyundai, the guys from Hython Motors, Nikola Motors. I'm leaving a couple of Daimler, Volvo, Freightliner. I mean, all these guys have recognized that there is a way to decarbonize heavy transport. And it looks like to me, it's pretty clear-cut choice that fuel cell electric vehicles are the solution. And you have to have an affordable fuel to make that work. And that's where H2 Energy Group comes to play.
Mm-hmm. So my last question is, you've mentioned cost quite a bit. Would you say that's the biggest challenge when it comes to biomass-based hydrogen fuel, or is there something else?
Well, we're the only guys in the space right now in the biomass side of the equation. Most of the green hydrogen that's produced today is produced using a process called electrolysis, and that's essentially using electricity. You push it through an electrolyzer in purified water and generate hydrogen, green hydrogen. Unfortunately, you use an enormous amount of electricity, and I'm sure you're aware, electricity prices worldwide are going up, not down. So the production costs are just exceptionally high. Lowest numbers we've seen are around $6 a kilogram. Our production cost is about $1.80. So the heavy industry guys have kind of put a benchmark at $5 a gallon equivalent for hydrogen, for diesel, a diesel equivalent. We can sell our hydrogen for $4, $5, depending on the size of the contract. And that lets these guys get their total cost of operation down below the diesel benchmark. And that's the holy grail. If you can displace diesel, and very few people ever look at the size of that market, it is mind-boggling how large, how much diesel we use as a country.
Right.
And then you plug that into the world. It's almost incomprehensible. We think we found a way to do it cost effectively, and using biomass. And once again, circularity is the whole game. It can be renewable, but not sustainable. Ours is sustainable and completely renewable. And that's where we think the difference is in our technology and everything else on the market.
Well, this has been very interesting. Chris, I think that we're going to wrap this up. On behalf of Biomass Magazine, I want to thank you so much for joining us today and telling us more about, your company and what you guys are doing. And would love it if you can come on sometime in the future and give us an update.
We love you guys. What you guys have done has changed the future of energy, biomass. With your magazine, we have been able to reach so many more folks around the world, not just here in the States, but around the world. We've got projects in Australia, EU, UK. All of those are because of our participation in your events. We appreciate everything you do for the industry.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much for the kind words, Chris. Until next time. And for our listeners, be sure to watch for upcoming episodes. And thanks so much for tuning in. Until next time.